You know what I learned today? I learned that slavery was a planetary ill. I learned that the whole entire planet has been enslaving each other for millennia. Maybe all the way back to the Sumerians. I'm telling you, in Europe, white people enslaved each other. In fact, the word slave comes from the root word Slavic people, whom are white people. So slave actually means white. You could argue it means poor white, but that's what slave is. So in America, we've been sold this idea that slavery is rooted in racism. Slavery started in America, ended in America. That is so far from the truth. That is just not true. I know it doesn't fit in your little narrative. You want to hate white people, you want to call them evil. You can call them all that. You can say all that. But when it comes down to slavery, no, it didn't start in America, but it sure as hell ended from a legal standpoint. It ended in America. What I also learned today was that I kind of knew this. I kind of had an intuition because I grew up in Africa and I know a thing or two about African people, about my people. People can be very wicked. In fact, slavery existed in Africa amongst Africans in the same way slavery existed in Europe amongst Europeans. Slavery existed in India amongst Indians. Slavery existed in America amongst American Indians. Slavery existed in China amongst Asians. And then at some point, when empires became powerful enough, they started conquering each other. Have you heard about the Dahomey Empire? Do you know what they did in West Africa? You know, before Africa had countries like the Cameroon, the Nigeria, it used to be empires. Have you heard about of the Yoruba was a whole entire empire? Maybe you didn't know this. The Dahomey Empire was where we currently have Benin. That was an empire. You heard about the Amazons, the female warriors? Do you know that it was their job to go ahead, fight wars, kill men, capture children for slavery? Did you know that? No, but in the Black Panther, we are sold the idea that they're just warriors that fought for peace. I'm not saying that they didn't fight for peace. I'm saying that as a matter of fact, they were those warriors that went out and captured children that were used as slaves. And those slaves that actually got sold were the lucky ones. If you didn't get sold, you probably get killed or used as human sacrifice. So the idea that there's one group of people that has always oppressed another group of people because of the color of their skin is just a lie. That is a psyop. But how many of you can honestly say that you actually understand the history of slavery? A lot of us, up until recently, at least for me, I was under the impression that slavery was something that the white people practiced against black people. But when you actually analyze it, and it's like, duh, they didn't just show up and just started arresting and capturing black. They were black empires. They fought wars. Black people, black tribes, black empires enslaved each other. And then when the white man came, that became a new demand. Now different empires went and conquered different empires, captured children, captured men, captured women, sold them into slavery to the white people. So there was already a local demand and supply of slavery. When the Westerners came, the white man came to Africa, he just created a new type of demand that didn't exist before. That is the reality about the transatlantic slave trade. Don't even get me started with the Ottoman Empire slave trade, where the Muslims would capture white people and bring them to North Africa. Slavery was a planetary phenomenon. Everybody enslaved everybody. What that really means is, if we're talking about planetary reparations because of slavery, Everybody owes everybody everything. Everybody owes everybody. The Brits would owe the French would owe the British, the Yorubas will owe the Benin will owe the Yorubas, the Cameroonians will owe the Congo. Everybody's going to owe everybody. The American Indians are going to go owe the white Indians, the white Indians are going to owe the American Indians, the white Americans are going to owe the African Americans are going to owe. Everybody's going to owe everybody. The idea of reparation is ludicrous. It only works if you ignore the totality of slavery. Because if you acknowledge what slavery really was, you couldn't say there's only one group of people. Okay, cool. White people owe black people. But guess what? Black people also owe white people. I'm telling you. It doesn't sound palatable. You don't like it, but that's just the reality of it. Go and read up on the Ottoman Empire. Go and read up on the Dahomey Empire. Go and read up on the Yorubas. Go and read up on what happened in Ivory Coast, what happened in Cameroon, what happened in Libya. White people were enslaved amongst themselves for hundreds of years before they even came to Africa. Yes, it wasn't a racial thing. It was just whoever had power and whoever didn't. One generation, we enslave you. Couple generations later, we enslave you. And it just went back and forth and back and forth and back. And everybody did it. Everybody. Black people, white people, Indians, Asians. Everybody did it. That is the truth. That is the truth. So, I'm not saying that reparations shouldn't be provided. All I'm saying is, in the spirit of reparations, because that's the spirit of fairness, we have to make a fair assessment of who owes who. And if we really want to do that, there's going to be some white people that are going to have to pay up. Some white families that are going to have to pay up. There's also going to be some black families that need to pay up. I'm just saying. Because if everybody has to rise up and say, okay, my ancestors were enslaved, you have to figure out who enslaved your ancestors. Until right now, there's a very strong possibility that some of my ancestors were enslaved by black people. Some might have been enslaved by white people too. Some might have been enslaved by Arabs. Some might have been enslaved by Indians. So who the fuck owes me what? I don't know. That's all I'm saying.